Rewind 6 years. Not so long ago, amongst G20 countries, Canada was a standout star. The envy of the world's most powerful countries, then mired in a deep recession. Picture perfect.
Canada. What are they doing that we're not? The Prime Minister of Canada is my guest today.
Prime Minister Harper was doing a U.S. celebrity tour and getting noticed.
Canada is also the only Western nation that has had no bank bailouts.
We're emerging from this with probably the only truly free market financial system in the world.
Here at home, rightfully boasting that this country was weathering the Great Recession better than most.
And we will come out of this faster than anyone and stronger than ever.
But over the last 6 months, with the sudden collapse of oil economics, that picture is drawing ever more somber, revealing telling cracks in the Canadian patina.
I think we are only at the beginning. I think it will get worse as we move through the year.
There is a question mark about the future of Canada's economy.
So what is destabilizing Canada's economy, creating those cracks? We've asked 3 economy watchers to frame it up for us. What are the weaknesses that the government is no doubt closely watching as it delivers the federal budget? Some are more obvious than others. The big fissure undeniably in the oil patch. With nearly half-price oil from a year ago, Alberta's economy is retracting fast, and hairline fractures are spreading well beyond to other provinces. Total investment in oil and gas in Canada is expected to drop by $40 billion this year.
It's going to hurt. It's going to be tight. The amount of money that's been taken out of the system is greater than it was in 2009.
Economist Peter Tertsakian watches the oil and gas industry in Alberta. He warns the oil sector won't make a profit this year, striking a $14 billion blow to Ottawa and the provinces, according to the Conference Board.
Certainly in directly exposed areas like Alberta, Saskatchewan, you're feeling it. But it will ripple across the country. There usually takes a lag. And we've just come out of the winter drilling season. It was a very weak drilling season. The rigs are all parked now and they're not going back to work in the summer. The phone will probably stop ringing, and a lot of the workers are not going to be called back for the summer. Not long ago in the financial crisis, 2009 was the last time we saw this. It didn't last all that long. This time I think it's going to last a little longer, so the psychological effects are probably going to be a little bit harsher.
As another crack opens, the harsh reality is shrinking full-time jobs. To listen to Finance Minister Joe Oliver, you'd think that Canada was in a hiring boom.
We created over 1.2 million net new jobs since the depths of the recession, one of the strongest job creation growths in the G7.
That was true then. But now, job growth is slowing to near recession levels. Employers who are nervous about an uncertain future are either shedding jobs altogether or hiring cautiously. Last month, 28,000 full-time jobs disappeared, but the number of part-time jobs went up. In fact, according to a Bank of Canada survey, businesses intend to hire fewer new workers this year than at any time since the height of the global recession in 2009. Auto manufacturing, one clear example, forecasts that General Motors may close 1 of 2 plants in Oshawa by 2016 is rattling workers. Karina Colachico has a 25-year mortgage, a toddler, and both she and her husband work for GM. The picture for Karina is unsettling. She's already laid off for 5 weeks this year.
It gets nerve-wracking because my husband as well is in the GM, and if anything happens, we would have to look at other jobs, which is very next to none right now, or see what we're going to do with our house and with everything that we have. He's been there for 10 years, but he's had some layoffs in and out, in and out, in and out, more than me. It's a little rough for him because he don't know where he stands from a day-to-day basis.
If someone from the government asked you what you wanted going forward in your future, what would you tell them?
Stable jobs. just to know that, you know, you're going to work every day and you don't have to worry if in a month's time I'm still going to be working, if I'm going to be working the next day.
Here's one of the less visible cracks: household debt. It's rocketed up 22% since 2008 to a record high.
Canada's increase in household debt is second only to Greece since the financial crisis.
Economist Susan Lund tracks global economic trends from Washington. McKinsey's recent report showed the world didn't learn everything from the last recession. Global debt is on the rise again.
We were actually quite surprised to find that no major economy has reduced its overall amount of debt, and instead, global debt has continued to grow.
In Canada, the hot spot is how much Canadians are borrowing for their homes, on their credit cards, or for education.
Canadian household debt is now 155% of disposable income. To put that in perspective, it's much higher than U.S. household debt was back in the peak in 2007. And it's continued to grow. And all of this raises a question of whether this is going to prove to be sustainable or unsustainable.
Managing that debt depends on stable jobs, which are fragile in this economy.
I think there's a period of uncertainty ahead, and if we've learned one thing over the last 7 years since the crisis, it's that countries with high levels of debt are indeed more fragile than those with low levels of debt.
That simple axiom, pay your debts, is why the finance minister is aiming to balance the budget.
Everyone says they want a balanced budget. Few have the steel to do what it takes to get the job done.
And Bank of Canada Governor Stephen Poloz says Canada's outlook will brighten.
The impact of the oil price shock is proving to be faster than initially expected, not larger. Outside of the energy sector, other areas of the economy appear to be doing well.
But with no growth in the last 3 months.
It's not looking good right now, no.
David Madani is bearish on Canada's outlook. It's not the time, he says, to champion balanced budgets.
Right now the federal government obviously is more preoccupied about balancing their budget rather than providing some support to the economy. But as we move through the year, I think there'll be more clear, obvious signs that the economy is really struggling and needs that support.
Canadians dodged the worst of the last financial storm, but the hazards this time are potentially more threatening.
Particularly because one of the sort of offshoots of all of this is low gasoline prices. So most households obviously would be happy to be paying a lot less at the pump. And so we've seen that, but we haven't yet seen the full negative effects from the cuts in the oil and gas sector. So Canada's past performance really isn't a good indication of future performance.
It's not the post-recession recovery anymore. Economists differ, but the portrait of Canada is changing, tied closely to oil profits, which are shrinking, carrying too much household debt. Growth in this country is flattening. So no matter what the finance minister delivers in the budget, Canada is in for an unsettled year. The picture, just not as pretty. Susan Ormiston, CBC News, Toronto.